Hi, it's Tony Woodcock here. You're listening to the Green Jumper Pod with Marcus Alton.
Coming up on the next Green Jumper, my guest is a former TV sports reporter who was kept on his toes by Cloughie for over 20 years.
Cloughie was the master of mind games before Alex Ferguson or anybody. And he liked to keep you guessing. He was very good at it. And when you went to do an interview with him, you didn't know what mood he'd be in. He'd either be delighted to see you and welcome you straight in, or he'd keep you waiting for a long time. And sometimes that could be a very long time. You're waiting outside the office and then he'd eventually appear. And sometimes he'd give you a very quick and succinct interview. And other times you couldn't get away. He'd be telling you stories and it'd be just listening to him tell stories was wondrous. So you never knew. So he kept you guessing. He was the master at it.
Dennis Coath was a reporter and presenter at Central TV in the Midlands. In our chat for the Green Jumper, he shares his Cloughie memories as he looks back at his career in journalism documented in a new book. In your book that you've brought out, you give some tips for new reporters. And in an interview, you say don't always stick to a rigid list of questions because your interview may go in an unexpected direction. I'm sure that must have happened with Cloughie when you spoke to him.
When you interviewed Cloughie, you didn't have a plan. It was ridiculous because if you had a plan of questions, you'd be ripping them up. I mean, sometimes you'd be talking to him and it would go on to politics.
Yes.
And we'd be talking about how we need more bobbies. One of his big things, we need more bobbies on the beat. He was a really old-fashioned type of socialist and he believed in really looking after people, looking after the community and being a member of the community. And he used to go on about that. But he just suddenly got off a tangent talking about something. But he was so articulate about every subject. So that you didn't know which way the conversation was going to go.
Dennis reveals what Brian told him about son Nigel as the young number 9 was starting his career at Nottingham Forest. And he talks about why Cloughie had total admiration for goalkeeper Peter Shilton.
Probably the one player Cloughie really left alone and was almost in awe of was Peter Shilton, because he just let Peter do his own thing, because Peter knew what he was doing. He was the exemplary professional. He'd stay behind after training and get kids to, have shooting practice with. And other players would be long back in the changing rooms, having a shower, getting changed. And Peter would still be out there training, but he was a one-off.
Yes. And I think as the story goes, that's what led to Cloughie wearing the green sweater in the end, because he saw Shilton wearing a green sweater with number 1 on the back and said, hey, I'm the number 1 round here, and started wearing the green jumpers. So, but that more admiration for Shilton, really, I think, that one. Cloughie used to say that Shilton was worth 10 or 15 points a season alone, and that was in the days when it was like 2 points for a win, which shows you how much he thought of him. Cloughie also couldn't believe that the England manager at the time, Ron Greenwood, couldn't decide between Shilton and Clements.
No, I couldn't. I mean, Clements was a great goalkeeper, but Shilton was the best in the world.
Yeah.
So I found that absolutely extraordinary. They used to rotate the pair of them. Now, whenever people talk about who was the greatest England footballer, it seems like goalkeepers don't count. But Peter Shilton got 125 caps. It should have been about 150. And the saves he made, I mean, that Forest wouldn't have won the European Cup twice without Peter Shilton. He was the best.
Just take a look at the show notes for more details about Dennis's new book. In our conversation, there's also a tribute to the legendary commentator John Motson, who passed away at the age of 77 after an outstanding career behind the microphone.
He had a presence and he had a method. And what everybody would learn from John Motson is that important word P, preparation. He was never caught out, was Motty, because he did so much research, and he'd spend the night before a big game just swatting till he knew every fact and figure about the game and could just recall them. So research, fantastic.
And also, it was very sad to hear about the death of ITV's World of Sport host, Dickie Davis, as well. Yeah.
Yes, I was on some early World of Sports with Dickie Davis.
Ah.
And one thing I remember doing was they did wrestling at the time, and it was the final wrestling match for Mick McManus, the wrestler.
Yeah.
And I did the live thing with Mick McManus into World of Sport, and had to escort him into the ring and interview him afterwards. And that was with Dickie Davis. And I did a few pieces on World of Sport. And Dickie, he was just as he appeared, real gentleman, great pro, lovely man.
You'll also hear Dennis's memories of being the MC at a gala fundraising dinner for the Clough statue in Nottingham in the presence of Brian's family.
It was a lovely warm evening. The people who came along, and Cloughie's family, and everybody there. And some of the great people like John Robertson was there, and John McGovern, some of the great old stalwarts. And we had a wonderful evening.
Yes.
It was like it was a celebration of the man, and luckily we raised the funds for the statue, which is a must, because there's two people you associate Nottingham with, Robin Hood and Cloughie.
One of Cloughie's sporting idols, Muhammad Ali, was also among Dennis's interviewees.
It was a very poignant interview, and the warmth and the awe of the man came across. He was just amazing. Just being in his presence, he's the only first person, apart from Cloughie, I've ever felt in awe of. There's two people in my life I felt in awe of: Brian Clough, Muhammad Ali. And just being in Muhammad Ali's presence was just amazing. And he didn't have a mark on his face. You couldn't believe this guy's been a top boxer. Not a mark on his face, but he was so witty still. And there were some kids came in, and he pretended to spar with them, and they were just thrilled to bits. And he still had that twinkle in his eye and that wit.
All that, plus his poignant last meeting with Cloughie, which left Dennis close to tears. It really is a special interview. I hope you can join me next time for more memories of the great man in the green jumper.